Hi, I'm Justin Osmer and welcome to Global Garages. The Peterson Automotive Museum invited me here to DirtFish. What's DirtFish, you might ask? Well, it's 300 acres and 27 miles of a rally paradise. And we're going to have the chance to meet Steve, the founder and owner, a little bit later today. Steve has one of the most renowned and exotic collections of rally cars you've ever seen. So get ready for an incredible day. So here we are, 10 years of rallying out in the great Pacific Northwest. No better place to do some rally racing in this incredible facility. 300 acres, 27 miles of track. Plenty of places to get dirty and have some fun. The team out here at DirtFish has a really incredible process. They start up there in the classroom, of course, then you move to the simulators, which is your first chance to get behind the wheel. Might be virtual, but then down here you get some reality. The foundation of rally, of course, and Subaru is right there with them. All-wheel drive, superpower machines. Get behind one of the wheels of these machines and get out on the course. The Peterson Automotive Museum is all about exploring automotive passion, and Steve certainly has a passion for rallying. A little bit later today, he's going to give us a tour of his incredible collection of rally cars, and if we're lucky, we might even be able to see them in action. Pretty amazing suit collection here. Yeah, so Colin Mcrae, the one and only. Amazing career, amazing driver. Well, in Global Garages, we get the chance to see some amazing collections, and this is certainly one of them. And now as we come in, he's got some incredible, incredible cars. Wow, this is absolutely amazing. First of all, the setting is gorgeous, but then look at this collection of cars. Unbelievable. Can't wait for Steve to get here to tell us a little bit more, but before he does, why don't we poke around ourselves? I just can't believe I'm here. This is just incredible. These cars are just absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to learn a little bit more about them. Hi, Steve. So good to see you. Well, thank you so much for having us out here. This is absolutely incredible collection.
Well, I appreciate you coming out, and to me it's pretty astounding. It's one of the first times I've seen this part of the collection altogether.
Well, it's all about driving that car passion, right? So tell us a little bit about, first of all, how many cars do we have in the building here right now?
Well, I've not counted, and we might have one less. Yeah. How long have you been here? But you know, this is a collection which is primarily rally-based, and it goes back to my youth. It goes back to growing up with rally in the north of England. So gradually, out of my midlife crisis, I've been fortunate enough to put together a group of cars that reflect my early passion on motorsport, but also how I've grown, and I guess my thought process, my interest has developed. There's some pretty old cars, and there's some newer cars. So what you see here is primarily road cars, from which the Works Rally car came. I have a separate group of cars, which my wife knows something about, but maybe not totally about, which match some of these road cars. The Group B era is probably the most well-known period of rallying. It was the day when you developed the fastest, lightest car to go through forests and battle with trees. What could possibly go wrong? So when we look at it, you know, Group B had some oddities.
Yeah.
Some things like this. The
I've
Citroen.
never seen this before in my life.
You might notice that the nose of the car overhangs the front wheels quite significantly,
Yes,
front
it does.
axle.
Yeah.
In a time when people were trying to put weight amidships, so much weight, the engine is forward of the front axle, acts like a little bit of a snowplow. And with the hydroelastic suspension, it's not what you think, really, of a Group B car. Another French version here of the Group B car, the Renault 5 Turbo.
Yeah.
Very much more
Tight
compact,
package.
as you
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
short
tight
wheelbase.
package, for
You
sure.
think if you're going to go around those corners, a long wheelbase is not necessarily the best place to be. Whereas the Citroen didn't really have too much of a history to it in the Group B era. The Renault 5 was very successful. This car actually sat on the dealer's floor in Singapore for 20 years. If you actually look at it closely, you'll find that the right-hand side of the car is a different color than the left-hand side of the car, because the sun into the showroom actually faded one side of the car.
Oh,
so
my goodness.
the collection is not about absolute perfection. It's much more about representing what the cars are. This car actually has both turbo and supercharger, but unfortunately, you know, this car was one of the ones that brought the end to the era of Group B with the crashes, unfortunately, and unfortunately a few fatalities.
And it just, the Group B era, that was, we're talking about mid-80s, is that right?
Yeah.
Early 80s?
Yeah, 83 through sort of
Okay.
86 time frame. It was a time frame when there was a lot of passion in the sport and a lot of technology went into the sport. So that
Yeah.
passion really turned into technology, which you think of the Audi Quattro.
Yes.
The Group B Audi Quattro Sport here.
Love the Audis.
And that is the car that really brought us into the Group B era. Hannah Mikkola brought this car to the Olympus Rally as one of its first outings. You know,
Yes.
developed undercover and was brought. But the technology of this car is very, very different. This car, if we look over here, the Lancia 037.
Yeah.
This was the predecessor to the Lancia Delta S4.
Uh-huh.
This was the last two-wheel drive car to win a World Rally Championship.
Ah.
So we see the development, and this era of Group B was really light years ahead of what I grew up with rallying.
Yeah.
And so if you look at the collection and think about the collection, I grew up in the north of England watching rally cars go through Grisdale and Kielder Forest in the north of England,
Yeah.
and hoping that someday I would get close to owning a car.
Yeah.
And now I'm pretty
There you
fortunate to
are.
have a bunch of them.
That's really amazing. Well, Steve, this collection seems endless. I feel like a kid in a candy store here. There's so much to look at and talk with you about, but I see some beautiful blue, familiar Subarus back here, which also have a great storied history in rally. Hoping we could talk about these a little bit.
Yeah, and obviously Subaru holds a special place in our heart here at DirtFish, and they're the platform which we base the rally school on. You know, Subaru and the blue is iconic. You know, if you go back to the 90s, the eras of the Richard Burns, the Colin Mcraes, Subaru was the platform which was successful and iconic. And we feel really fortunate to have Subaru as part of DirtFish.
So, can you tell us a little bit about what it's like to drive these race cars?
Well, we've not talked about how my driving skills match up, and I'd have to be honest and say not very well. So I think it's probably best that we bring in somebody who I think is going to be driving some cars for us this afternoon, including this one, and somebody who's pretty close to me, our son James Rimmer.
Oh, great. James. Great to meet you, James.
Great to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for joining us. Just tell us a little bit more about what it's like to race these cars.
Yeah, so, you know, the one we're standing in front of right here, actually, the GC8, this was one of the first cars I learned to drive in. So it has a special place
Great.
in my heart. I have pictures of me as a young child in the passenger seat with my dad in the driver's seat showing me how to work it all. And I have really fond memories of that because I grew up with these cars as posters on my wall, you know,
Right.
with Colin Mcrae driving.
Yep.
And you know, these are so fun to drive because when you get in them, you realize that while they look a little bit plain on the outside, especially with no decals on them,
Yeah.
what it's built for is to be so precise, and it's built to be put through a forest and put exactly where you want it to be every single time. If you want to look at something a little more race prepped and has a little more history behind it, this is Travis Pastrana's championship winning car from Rally America. It's actually been fully restored by Vermont Sports Car, and we took delivery of it really within the past 6 months. This is an absolutely beautiful example. It is about as pristine as it gets when it comes to these cars. Overall, you know, you're really carrying on the Subaru heritage and the Subaru history, specifically through these colors that you're seeing in front of you.
Yeah, well, and that's a great maybe bridge over to the other Subaru we have in the lineup here. A road-going version, a special edition. And I think another great thing about a Subaru example is, you know, you race the car on Sunday, and you can go buy almost the exact same thing on Monday in the showroom.
Absolutely, right? and you know, obviously you drive it and you get inside of it. This one has navigation and the other ones don't, but
creature comforts.
It has the creature comforts that you sort of come to expect now with cars. But one of the things that my dad really pioneered in this collection is really trying to match up those road cars and those competition cars. So this really sits as a part of the collection just to show kind of putting these two next to each other, putting these three next to each other. You can really see the innovation over the years, and you can see all the differences, but you can see the similarities as well. Even when it just comes down to things like the color of the wheels and the color of the car. This World Rally Blue is so iconic.
Well, your mutual car passion is infectious. I'm fortunate enough to have inherited mine from my father. So I can sense that you guys have that same unique bond. Can you talk a little bit about what it means to you, Steve, to have kids that are interested in rallying and carrying the torch really behind the drivers?
You know, I didn't feel that I forced the kids to jump into the automotive passion, but I feel very blessed that they both seem to have that. And from the early days of putting them in the passenger seat and them being inquisitive and allowing them to shift the gears or whatever, I mean, it's been fabulous. And I've been really fortunate for James and Josie, who hopefully you might see this afternoon as well, driving, to be both interested in rally and rallycross and motorsports generally. It's been great having James and Josie interested in something that I'm passionate about.
Yeah, it's great. And James, for you, growing up, you mentioned earlier the posters on the wall. I mean, what's it like? Do you have to pinch yourself when you climb behind the wheel? I mean, it's like a dream come true, right?
It is, and you know, it's hard to believe sometimes. And you know, like my dad, I have these memories of sitting in a passenger seat and him saying, you know, this is what this switch does and that's what that switch does, and it being so overwhelming at the time. And you know, what was great about it is that I didn't feel any pressure to be super involved with it all. So really what it came to be was my own personal passion tacked onto his passion for it. And I really got time to grow into that myself. You know, I wasn't pushed to be really into it. I wasn't pushed to drive at a super young age. At maybe 11 years old, he put me in a car and said, if you want to do it, go for it. And so I enjoyed it. I loved it. My sister is the same thing. We didn't push her into wanting to do it. My sister's a world champion horse rider, but she never was really interested in the car stuff until 2 years ago. And you know, we never pressured her into it. And then 2 years ago, she said, I'm interested. And we said, all right, well, we'll do what we can to get you in a car. And now we can't get her out of a car.
And I got to say, that the team here at DirtFish are just unbelievable. I mean, hopefully you've seen some of that spirit around here. This is passion. This is a team who's passionate. These aren't just objects to them, you know, they're passionate about them. And the smile on their face when you see them around these cars, keeping them away right now, as you've also seen, has been difficult. And I'm so thankful to that also. And this is another car that we're going to drive this afternoon, and another Group B era car, the Metro 6R4. It's a very small, tight package. It was said to be a handful, so good luck this afternoon. And I might not hang around to see the result, not that I don't have confidence in how you're going to do with it. But certainly, like most things, rallying, I remember when Alistair Mcrae got out of the car and there was a big smile on his face.
Well, I can't wait to see you behind the wheel.
Me too, it'll be fun.
All right. Well, Steve, on behalf of the Peterson Automotive Museum and the Global Garage team, thank you again for having us out here. Really a special day.
Well, really thanks to the Peterson, yourself, and everybody for causing this to happen. It's been just an awesome experience for me to see all the cars together. Something that hasn't really happened much before. having rallying put up there in the headlines again, I think is a huge plus. And we really appreciate, the Peterson and everybody involved for letting that happen. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think the last thing we got to do is go drive them, right?
Let's go drive them.
All right. Great. Well, Josie, this is a surprise treat to have you out today too.
Thank you.
Part of the family out here at DirtFish. So tell us a little bit more about your driving passion and your history with it.
Well, obviously in my family, there's a little bit of built-in love for cars there.
Yeah.
That part's not really optional. But yeah, my dad stuck me in a car when I was 8 years old and I couldn't even reach the pedals, and I got in and I was like, why are there 3 pedals? So from there I got really interested in the cars. I liked going fast, and so I've been lucky enough to get the chance to drive these fun cars out here now. And
That's great. So your dad was telling us a little earlier today about your passion for horses.
Yeah.
And then you made the transition to a different kind of horsepower with the rally cars. So tell us a little bit about kind of the interest now in the rally cars.
Yeah, I mean, the skills that you gain as an equestrian transfer directly to the cars, to the balance and the feel and the ever-changing nature of them both. But the cars don't kick you, which is really nice. The skills transferred and the love for the competition transferred, and how it changes every day.
So Josie, you sort of photobombed us a little bit today, showed up. Your dad said your brother was going to be here. We didn't know you were going to show up too.
Surprise.
We saw you out bombing in this baby. Can you tell us a little bit about this awesome little Ford that you're in?
Yeah, this is my favorite one in the collection. What I like about it is that it always feels like you're on the verge of maybe sliding out, maybe hitting something, but the car catches you every time. And it feels good to be in something with the history that this does. I feel so grateful to be able to drive it. So yeah.
Well, Josie, thanks so much for coming out today and surprising us with your presence.
Thank you.
It's great watching you drive, and we're certainly going to be cheering for you if you're out there
Thank you so
competing.
much. Always a happy day when I'm out here, for sure.
That's great. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Just love watching how smooth and easy it feels to you.
You know, it slows down after a little bit.
Outstanding.
Three or four?
I don't know. I don't know. Let's keep going. We don't know how many we've done. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Wow, what an incredible day out here at DirtFish. We can't thank them enough for hosting us. On behalf of all of us at Global Garages and the Peterson Automotive Museum, thanks so much for watching. Hope to see you next time.